I hope we're live. I can never tell if we're live. And then I'm just going to jump into it. I think we're live. Hello, welcome to the Art of Rock. We do this every Saturday morning here. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge the Tongva people as being the traditional landowners, and I want to acknowledge them for surviving. And I thank them, and we must learn from your resilience. After this, we're going to raid on over to MTV TV. But first, I have a question that I'd like to ask, and the question is, guys, alternatives to social media, go. Rezi, go.
I have a little bit of hope on this. I think strife leads to invention, or necessity anyway, in some words. But being in person, playing some shows, maintaining your mailing list, looking at your old email lists, maybe contacting people directly through that, things that aren't mediated. These are more direct ways. And there's, believe it or not, texting, as in like SMS. You might have some phone numbers. Look at your old sign up sheets from gigs and stuff. A couple of those might still be even active accounts from back in the 90s. Who knows? Just start looking there. But there's ways of fostering direct relationships. And I've done this a couple of times. I go through these phases where social media is burning and it's a cesspool. Because, I mean, depending on your algorithm, it usually is, until you focus on specific people. The people that you want to follow, the people that you understand, the people who you want to reach that you might not understand yet. You know, there's a way to get them. And going direct to them with stuff, this is not mass marketing. I don't know that it scales, but it does foster a uplifting sensation when you connect with an individual in a way that the passive, reactions and emotes don't necessarily do. So to sort of wrap that thought up briefly and let somebody else talk, I go back to focusing on my DMs and my actual texting and my actual people that I know in real life and have talked to before, and I start giving them the things that I would have posted on social media, and rather than being a severely underpaid employee of those huge conglomerates, I just am doing something with my friends creatively. It has worked.
Thank you
Mentally.
so much. Aaron, I see your hand. And Rizzy, can you take over for a sec?
You bet.
Yeah, so I think of, like I previously mentioned, a lot of it's not social media, but it's social media adjacent. And the way my brain works is literally like a jump change for like a train jumping tracks or shifting tracks, So of all of the shit that's on the Rolodex, the Price is Right wheel that's going with all of the social media and all the
I'm glad
people
you
that
said
mindlessly,
Rolodex while we're on
just literally, because
anachronisms.
that's what some people, literally, to put a fine point on it, it's like, that's what a lot of people just want to do. They just want to just keep next video, next video. But if you truly engage your audience and you're actually serious, because I think so many times we try to prepackage it with like super duper overwhelming, over the top showmanship, salesmanship, positivity, yada, yada, yada. I'm not trying to be discouraging, but what I'm saying is it seems like we paint over a lot of stuff or we mask over a lot of stuff when you could literally just tell your audience, hey, I'm about done with quite a few platforms, and I'm just going to leave it at platforms. If you want to come hang at Discord, etc., I would love to see you there. I think that would kind of strike the tone to let people know that
Yeah.
I'm about over everything that's on track A, but by all means, please come see me on track B, or even more
That's
locally. You may be able to say, I am going to X place.
Yeah, I
I'm
was going to
going
say
to
that's
this.
really good specific
Yeah.
advice. Have
So you
you
could say,
been
I'm
able to do
going to
this
this
a little bit?
restaurant, whatever. Maybe I'll see you there. Maybe not, but
Aaron,
start
have you
doing things.
performed this a little bit? Like, have you done some moving to your own spaces rather than out of the public forums and socialized media?
I've got quite a bit of engagement, like on Patreon. That's
Mhm.
still kind of, it's kind of a
Mm,
delayed thing, but it's still, it's it garners a lot more introspective, like people actually messaging and thought. I do need to get more Discord savvy.
Sure.
And then also just seeking out the community events, because
It's
you don't know what
interesting.
you don't know, because especially if you just go to a community event and you have your stuff on the table, but then you got a QR code. A lot of people just out of blind curiosity will hit that QR code, which may lead to your social media adjacent thing. We go hang
It's
out in Discord and we have a blast. See you when I
interesting
see you.
that you've named a couple of places that have frameworks around them that do some of the things social media traditionally does, like the conversation and threading and non-real time um, chat stuff, and also posting media and holding it there. Patreon and Discord have really different models for that. And has anybody on the panel had success experimenting with owning and maintaining a Discord or Patreon community that they want to comment on? And also, if there are other types of communities that you can move to that support this kind of stuff. Diana, what do you have?
I mean, we do have the Patreon, and I honestly, one of the other main platforms, a big reason why I use it is because it has the event pages. And then people that are involved, artists that are involved in the show, make them a co-host of the event page, and that says, hey, we added a show, and it spreads out that way. I think that for any of the, making a post that might be to keep up on the latest, like, here's the next event, it's on our Patreon. I don't know how I'm gonna, because you have the free tier that you want to show to everybody, but you also still need help and support.
Yeah, and these aren't, they're not mass marketing ventures. They're not
No,
algorithmic
no.
things where you're going to accidentally push to 42 million people because it went viral. There's not that opportunity for them. They're definitely grassroots. I'm talking to my people. I'm in the room. I'm in the club kind of places.
Mhm.
And I mean, Discord is intentionally like that. And certainly Patreon people are electing to be there by either paying into what your tiers are. I have a small group on my Patreon, and as I'm neglecting to post on social media, I have not increased what I'm posting on my own place. I intend to, and I'm sort of rededicating to that since Carl brought this topic up, and I hadn't really thought in terms of boycotts and actually making a statement. But I feel somewhat hopeful and empowered. Aaron, let me actually, Ivan, we'll go back to you, Aaron, in a second, since Ivan hasn't chimed in yet. You want to let us know what you're thinking about there?
Okay. Who remembers the 90s?
I mean, I was there. What details do you need? Because
Who remembers how we did this stuff back in the day?
rec music industrial and alt gothic,
When major domo lists,
of course.
and like outside of like Usenet, was a great way to centralize stuff because everybody got the same thing and it was everywhere.
It's also the only place I've ever encountered drama personally. So
Yes.
there's that.
Hey, bonus. I was the first person to ever get flamed on Alt Gothic.
Nice. I'm glad to hear it.
I voted for Alt Gothic's existence.
Is there something that's viable like that is not mediated? I don't think this exists right now. Is there a thing that still
I'm
does?
pretty sure that Major Domo still exists.
Well, mailing lists, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you can still pay for one. I don't.
And like mailing lists that people can send and receive from, so it's not just a one-way ticket. That's a fairly, that was a big deal back in the
Right.
back.
You know what? I did not take that as part of what you're saying, and now I appreciate that is a lost art. A
Yeah.
mailing list which people can mail to the address, the major domo address, and it goes to the distribution list into their inboxes. That's
Yeah, no, and like back in the 90s, I ran the Milwaukee goth mailing list.
when are you going to start another
We
one?
had
Come on.
we had like 2,000, 3,000 subs at one point, and like it mostly it died because other stuff came along that did a better job.
Yeah, better, but now look where we are, right? There
Mhm.
may be a reason for this. Carl, I saw you
Yeah,
had your hand
and
up for a
what
second.
users want to be able to
Sorry,
do
go
is
ahead.
they want to share media. They
Yeah,
want to share links. They want to
yeah.
share video. They want to
Look at
share
this
pictures.
fucking band. Look at this thing I
Yeah,
made. Look at my new shirt.
exactly. And as long as you can keep that part of the equation flowing, you have plenty of opportunity there's plenty of opportunity to kind of take up where social media is leaving off. And social media is leaving a lot off because now it's highly directed and, too snippety
Yeah, we know a lot of things are wrong with it.
and like there's plenty of like we don't there's so much wrong with it that we don't have to try.
Yeah.
And I think we're headed for like another paradigm shift of how people interact with this stuff.
We're headed for it, and you could be on the vanguard and do stuff. I mean, this sounds like what you're talking about.
Like anybody could. It's not hard.
Yeah. Ivan, I'm going to ask again, Carl, did you want to jump in? I saw you had your hand up for a minute. Are you cool?
No, thank you very much. I'm back. I'm sorry, Frank just knocked over a whole bunch of shit.
Good kitty.
I'm back. I'm good. If you were okay, we could throw this to Aaron.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, thank you and thank you for taking that up, everybody. Okay, Aaron, what you got?
I'll preface this with the idea too that like you don't know how people like to consume their media, so it might be annoying to be like, I gotta set up one more fucking account, really, or I gotta validate this, or I gotta do that. Cool, do the thing, because much like you guys said, internet chat boards, et cetera. There's some that are called Substack. And Substack's a wonderful platform because it's not inundated with a bunch of fucking bullshit. It's just, or at least from my experience, it's been, once I start tailoring, and following what I want to follow.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Substack, is that a thing?
Yeah.
Can you, as we go, can we start building some ideas? So can we get Substack into the chat and I can then distribute this? Aaron, keep on. This is a great rant, please.
No, absolutely. And, there's a lot of creators that I follow, and as much as I like to see videos from them and as much as I like to see them explain X, Y, Z, they may not never get to the topic that I'm immediately thinking of, So, it's like there may be another purview to where they're like, I talk about this on my Substack, boom, and they've got an entire page dedicated to all the thoughts that they wanted, all the knowledge they wanted to share. And it kind of becomes a help bank. That's probably one of the best descriptive terms I've thought of recently. Just like this is a help bank. It's literally people that have been through things when it comes to production, promotion, presentation, etc. But it's all in one big area. It's one big think tank. But in other words, Substack is a pretty good means just to help point to where it's there and it's pretty concise.
Thank you very much. Kerry, what are your thoughts?
Helps if I unmute. I have two things. Number one, a good place to go to put out like videos and such, BitChute. It's a great alternative to YouTube and Rumble because there's privately owned. They don't allow corporations to go in there. And then the second thing, right now, everybody's scrambling, trying to find different new social platforms. Smart idea. Get a link tree. That way your followers will know where you're at any time, where you've moved to. That way you don't lose anybody and you stay in touch. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. And once again, if all of these things you're talking about, can you put it into the chat here on the Zoom? And then I'm going to be storing these, propagating these out to everyone else. One that I use for, I just did that centralized. Isn't that the buzzword today? Centralized. One that I use for the Emacs group is groups.io, which used to be the Yahoo groups, but that disbanded. Yahoo dropped the whole groups thing, and it was a send something to the group and out it goes to everyone else. Thank you so much, Aaron, for Substack. I really, this is great. Thank you so much. So groups.io, I'm pretty sure this is the URL for groups.io, which I'm now putting in all chats everywhere. Another one is obviously Meetup. Meetup is great because it's predominantly for people who are actually going out. We've got Discord in there as well. Would you believe I don't actually know what the URL for Discord is because I just don't know how to Discord. Yeah, so please, if anybody has any other ideas of, and what's really fascinating is that a lot of these are going back to pre-social media, AI driven fucking, you know what I mean? You know how social media is kind of forcing shit into your face. This a little less so. If anybody else has any suggestions, please let me know. And like I said, they go into the chat on the Zoom, and then I propagate them out. Aaron, what are your thoughts?
You know, I would also say in the interest of, getting out, promoting and seeking things out. I mean, you may have local markets and immediately people want a discount because they're just like thinking in their mind, they discount it. They go, they're selling candles or it's a wicker basket fucking thing, whatever. But if there's an opportunity for a free table, if there's an opportunity for a table that only costs like $25, you don't know what you don't know. You could go and set up shop, you know, it's like you could be clamoring and yelling and screaming all day long and you may not get anybody, you know, that's actually like focused on what you're doing. Like if you're like doing like busking, for example, that doesn't make any sense. But if you literally just say, you know what, there is a community event, there's an opportunity to put a table out, to put some merch out, to put a QR code that links to my things, to my Discord, to my alternate tracks, and all of those things. I mean, you're already there, but again, I wouldn't discount it just because it's a craft festival. Or prime example, there's literally a chocolate festival going on right now. You know, I didn't see it till last night, and I'm like, well, shit, missed opportunity, because I might have been able to attend said event and still get eyes on Grim. I'm not a dessert maker, but you know, shy of them absolutely just not letting me do it, there may have been an opportunity just to literally just be like, fold up table, bam, drop cloth. This is the thing. This is what I do. Because again, you don't know where your audience is going to come from or what opportunities, what they're going to yield.
Ivan, I always, Aaron, I always love your boldness in your ability to go to festivals like that. I really admire it. It's a skill that I hope that one day I could have. Ivan, I just want to flip to you. Turn your mic on. So you just put the tar install for. I'm not even going to try and say that. What did you just say?
Yeah, it's the tar installer for you know, the source for Major Domo. So like you can still get it. It's still
okay,
out there. Yeah,
is there a URL I can go to, like a screen, instead of just the straight install for it?
I don't think there is anymore.
Okay.
This has been unsupported for eons.
All right, I might not share that one then, just for
I mean,
reasons.
it is kind of expert level.
Okay. Is there anything that is not expert level that is like, I don't know anything at all about coding? And when I say something that says tar, I go, viruses, like me. So is there anything for people like me that you can think of? Because you have a vast wealth of experience and understanding. And also I will notice that somebody, I noticed on Sounds and Shadows, is trying to start a Goth Central board. Was it darkscene.org or something?
That sounds familiar.
It's on Sounds and Shadows, and I'm encouraging everybody to have a look at that, and to say and to get involved with that, because any web-based thing back to the 90s, we need to be doing that. That's why we need to be supporting MTV TV, is because it is a social, it is a focused thing. And there's an okay. Thank you, Razi. Does anybody, Aaron, go?
This is a quick one, but probably stuff we've dabbled in before. Put a QR code get a QR code printed. Whatever you got to do, low tech, print the fucking thing, laminate it, throw it on the whatever back windshield of your car, or get a sticker version of it. But point being, some people just for shits and grins, they walk by and they see it. Oh, hey, what's that? Or in general, have your QR code because whatever event you're doing, live gig, side table, busking on the street, I don't know, tie it to a squirrel and let it run around your neighborhood with a QR code flapping like a cape. Point being, some people scan things just to scan them, but then they might discover all of the vast wealth of the awesomeness that you possess, or it might be more of a, like I said, a more pointed effort at an event where you're promoting your thing. But it's one less thing you got to worry about in the future because you already have that. And have that QR code go to your Discord, go to your social media adjacent to that parallel street to where you get a better quality of, it's quality, not quantity sometimes. Then eventually you garner fellowship and you garner more quantity, right? But if you're burnt out on this, cool, man. Get that QR code to go more directly to the thing that you want to build and the thing that you feel that yields more return, whether it be, success or just wellness and good energy. It's just everything can track with that QR code if you're deliberate about it.
Okay, I love it. Thank you, man. Thank you once again. We talk about QRs and the QR codes, and they're super important. And Diana brought up the link trees. Yes. Okay, so quickly, firstly, can somebody jump onto Sounds and Shadow? And can somebody find the link that I was talking about to the website that is going to become a goth hub? Hopefully, yes. And if somebody could stick that in the chat, that would be fantastic. Kerry, you put oldbitshoot.com. Can you just give me a run-up of what's all this about?
Okay, BitChute is like a version of Rumble and YouTube, but no major corporations have any say in it. It can be kind of slow at times because it's one guy with the server that's putting it out there for the whole world to use. So it's uncensored, and musicians post on it, artists post on it. You can find the politics pretty much like what you do with YouTube, but it's not censored. And so if you have like videos and such, you could put it out there and you don't have to worry about it being taken down.
Okay, this is great.
Yeah, I use old BitChute because I like the format, but if you just go to BitChute, that's regular, but they do not have an app. They're web only.
Okay, so there's old BitChute and regular BitChute.
It's just how it's set up. They're the templates.
So do I have to post something twice onto old BitChute and BitChute, or is it all the same thing?
No. It's just how the template is when you go into it. I like how it's set up better to navigate through because I don't want to change.
All right. Thank you so much. No, that's great. I appreciate that. Holland, did I actually put that in the chat? I think I did. I can't tell because my computer is really not fucking being nice to me. Okay. So this is old BitChute. That looks really great. And is somebody looking into the Sounds and Shadows deal? Can I see a hand of someone who's helping me out on this one? Did I get a volunteer? Thank you, Ivan. You're the best. Hey, kids, MySpace never went anywhere. Can I get someone else to tell me who is running MySpace? As in, what corporation? What does the CEO make? Who gives a shit? Like, who's running it now? I heard Timberlake bought it. Or Timberland.
Yeah, I think that's the last buyer of it.
Okay. So MySpace is there. It's still there. Actually, Angelspit has been posting to MySpace. We probably stopped about a year ago. Does anybody else have any suggestions? I've only got 4 right now. Groups.io, Meetup, Old BitChute, and MySpace. Thank you, owner. Someone, Valiant Technology. That's amazing. Does anybody else have something they want to bring up, suggest, throw into this big pool of positivity right now? They acquired MySpace in 2011. Personalized by Chris, Tim. I don't really care. Okay, there you go. So, and did I say MySpace? That's right, kids. MySpace. Okay, so were there any other possible social media things or alternatives to social media? Because like, MySpace is technically social media, I guess. Things like groups.io and Meetup that anybody else can think of or they want to throw in. I really hope this is inspiring people to throw in for. Alex, what you got?
And there's this app called Yodel, but I don't think anyone outside of Germany uses it very much. It's basically like a bit of Reddit, a bit of 4chan, a bit of I don't know, Twitter, because
Give me the URL and keep ranting. Give me the URL.
it's basically you get posts recommended based on your location. So if, for example, I log in and I see everything from within my town and posts with higher I don't know, engagement, get a bigger reach, but I basically just get things from my town. But you can also subscribe to groups within. Like if I were to make a group for industrial music, everyone in this group would also see these posts. So it's great to acquire things about local stuff. And maybe it would be a good thing to promote gigs. But I don't think it's too much used in outside of Germany and Austria and Switzerland. But I have
Throw
to
it in. This sounds great. Thank you.
or maybe not the German link. I get the English one.
Okay. That's all right. Well, while you're doing that, one that I use, Tumblr. Thank you. One that I use is also Do LA. It's also mainly for live gigs. Oh my God, this Rebel Rouse News. What was I thinking about? Hold on, this is the English version of that one. Let's have that. Thank you. So that looks really cool. Let's go with that one. Okay, Razzie, do you want to go on a spiel about Tumblr?
I haven't been using it. I have had an account there and I used to use it in that same way that I was talking about sending to people I know. Even though it's public and it is a social post, it always felt like the kinds of reactions I got were from people that I was already associated with it, that I was already associated with. So, Alex, I think you're more active on there still. Maybe you'd even have something better to say. I like it. You can make a sort of home space that people land on when they're looking at your stream and post your quotes and videos and clips and graphics and stuff and have them sort of with your format, but it's also social at the same time. Alex, can I ask you
So
to
as a
explain
user,
that?
I like Tumblr because it's not about you as a person necessarily. It can be if you want to, but it's basically about your interest and you just post stuff and repost stuff from others that have similar interests. For example, yeah, I like my photography, my art, my memes there. And I think it has potential for very niche music genres because it's like really good for little niches to find themselves. It's unfortunately not very active right now. It comes in waves already. I have like this, it has this feature, the queue, where you can like schedule posts, and I have like 100 posts in there, so I always post even though I'm not active on the site. But I see how active other users are depending on how many notes or likes or whatever I get. And it's in waves. Usually, if people are fed up with Instagram or something, you get a huge spike in Tumblr engagement, but then it dies down. Yeah, I don't know. I think Carl uses it the most. Maybe if Carl had an infinite team, he would post more photos of himself. Maybe that would work better. But I think if I were to do it, I would do it like her. Unless I have free time, then I would repost other people's stuff to get engagement, to get known, for people to find me, because I feel on Tumblr, the best way to people to find you is for you to like their stuff and reblog them and comment on their stuff. Yeah, sorry if I
Right.
was rambling.
No, that was actually quite a good ramble. You said a lot in there. Eliza Tentacle also said, okay. Yeah, so the objective of the exercise is we are trying to find places where you can give news and gigs and releases and cool shit to your community, and you can learn from your community of what these things are. That's what we're going for here. And thank you. No one's finding that post in Sounds and Shadows. Fuck, what was it? I only signed up for it last week. Yeah, I have, and that's the issue that I've got is that. Thank you so much, Diana and Ivan, for looking. It's difficult to find a place because on Tumblr I get one blaze or whatever they call it. On Reddit I get people saying you suck, I hate you, you're a joke, I hate your band, fuck off and die. Dark music, that's the one. Thank you so very much. We're gonna come back to that. Reddit is another one. Can someone give me is it reddit.com? Okay. So reddit.com is another place that will never go away. Whether that's good or bad, I'm not sure. But it's a great place to go where people can tell you how much you suck, which has been my overwhelming experience with it. But it is a place, and there's a bunch of...
Reddit is a cesspool.
Sorry, go ahead, Ivan.
Reddit is a cesspool.
It really is.
Yeah, it's the bottom of the bottom. You can't scrape hard enough to get more bottom than Reddit.
Look at my hands. Rezi, do that hand thing that you were doing. There it is. Look, positive,
Again,
up.
this is gravity.
Look,
this
I
is where
love
we're
that.
going.
I love that. So, thank you so
Okay.
much.
I think the biggest, one of the things that everybody needs to watch out for is as soon as you start giving, essentially like control or management of this stuff to third party, corporations, it doesn't matter how great they are at the beginning, they end up not great. And you end up going right back down the same road over and over again. And Einstein defined that as insanity. The other insanity, and why I'm thinking, let's go back to the olden days is, these are, you can run, a small community, from a freaking, VM somewhere and transport that wherever it needs to be, where it's safe. You can jump providers easily at that point. And keep those users and that data safe.
Okay. Sorry, keep going. I hear what you're saying. I think, hey, Rezi, what was that hand gesture?
This one?
No, not that one. Not that one. That's
gravity this way, us this
yeah,
way?
yeah.
Oh.
So I hear you, and obviously, yes, Ivan, I absolutely and overwhelmingly agree with you. Today's whole thing is everything's fucked, but we have to try and come up with some positivities. We're looking for answers.
The good positivity is this is a problem that can be solved. It is.
Let's solve it right now.
Yeah, it is. Like at the front edge of it looks a little intimidating and is not easy, to get things going. But once you've gotten kind of used to it, it's not that bad.
Okay. I thank you so much. You're fucking insane, and I love your fucking brain is great. I'm just going to barge in because I'm a bastard. and I'm going to barge in with darkmusic.net. I have just placed that into the mission, and Ivan, you were are grateful again because you were looking for this. This is really based on those 90s goth website hub things. So somebody started this again. And I think also New Goth City is one of these as well. So I'm going to make a suggestion. On this thing, you can put your gig on there. They also have a donate page. So when you put your gig on that, shout out to everybody who's putting gigs or streams or anything at all, why don't you send them a few bucks? Because I used to do these things. Did anybody else do one of these goth hobs like in the 90s and 2000s? Seriously, I thought you guys would have done that shit. I did Sydney Gothic and then Australian Gothic for 5 fucking years, and it worked. It really, really worked. Like, we would put a post on there for free. It was all free because, you know me, everything's fucking free. And people would get bums on the door, bums on seats, people coming to the shows just because it was on the website, because that was the climate of the day. So, does anybody else have anything? Like, let's scour here. Let's find out. I'm going to throw it to you now, Razi, go.
Yeah, we got this far, some 30, 40 minutes into it without really driving a nail into your own website, the own, either free or paid space that you have control over and you own the domain name for, and you decide what content goes there and what doesn't go there. And you're the sole editorial control of the thing. And the site ownership is just a conduit. There's no censorship involved because it is your responsibility. And it goes back to one of the things that we've lost as, interestingly, some of the social media kind of had a way to do this and maybe pulled it back a little bit so you'd be more inclined to go to their sites, embeds of your media where you've posted other places. And well, that's mainly the thing. Like, you need to get this stuff up on a place that you control and have some storage on so that you're not relying on the other sites when they disappear or claw back their control of and ownership of the stuff that you post. A domain name that resembles your band or thing is not an expensive proposition. Web hosting to post pages where they give you WordPress or some sort of site to build, maybe even Squarespace, where you can just do a template thing. Not real complicated. Might be a barrier to entry, and you might want to go for one of these other things, but I cannot underscore, like, if the world social media does burn down, this is your actual globally available calling card identity place for people to look at stuff. And whenever you're announcing your existence to the world, you can send them to this thing. And since we're on the topic of the dark music one, I'm looking all the way over here to remember the Dark Music Network is a little bit of this spirit of this, where that is a sort of personally owned domain name and website. It's not a page within some other social medium. It's their own space. What happened to web rings? This is what I'm thinking. There's no way to federate your website anymore with another website. There used to be, 100 pixels by 50 pixels tall, the Gothic web ring, and you're maybe the next site on it after this thing, and they'd go click through it. And I think this is time for that. I think this is, I don't know about bring it back specifically, but come on. Anyway, own your shit.
Okay, you know what? Thank you. I want to throw this to you, Alex, and then I'm going to invite everybody who's young here, like the young guys who are maybe around about 21. That's Razi, myself, Ivan, Diana, the young guys and gals, Kerry, who remember the 90s, who remember what the internet was like during the 90s. I want us to talk, once you're done, Alex, and to reminisce what the internet was like in the 90s. And maybe some fucking young people watching this is going, wow, I had no idea it was like that. Alex, the floor is yours. Go.
I came late, so I don't know. and I don't say it's the perfect solution, but had anybody mentioned Mastodon and Webhub?
No, URL, please.
It's basically a protocol and an open source project, so you could
Thank you, Ivan.
use it to make your own social media website.
I posted Mastodon, the link to it in the chat.
Okay. Keep going.
The problem is people use it, and it's a lot of it's more effort than just using Instagram. But in theory, you can have your own site and connect with other sites using the same protocol. But hardly anybody uses it except for like ultra geeks. Like I think Sean of Autica uses it, but and Mr. Technology Connections, if you know the YouTuber. But there are only a few users. It got a bit popular when Twitter went down the drain, but yeah, I think it's maybe something you could include in your own website as a basically blog, with the added bonus that other people from other Mastodon servers can subscribe to you, and you could make like we could make a Art of Rock server, and then everyone could have their sites. So this would also be possible. But again, it's very niche. But I just wanted to bring it up for completion.
All right.
And,
All right.
yeah.
Thank you so much. I've tried Mastodon, didn't work. I've got actually a couple of different people I know who I said, "Oh yeah, try Mastodon." Didn't work. Aaron, 300 words or less, because the elders of the internet are fucking biting at the chaff to reminisce. Go.
Oh, damn. If I were to encourage anything in tandem with what we're talking about on this website, it's the 30-second elevator pitch. It's the thing that I blather about quite frequently, to where if I'm at an event and I have 30 seconds or less to tell you what everything is about, I think you need to do that. If you're camera shy, then no biggie. Do your visuals, do a voiceover, or do text on screen. But there has to be something when you are garnering all of this fellowship and you are steering everybody toward this one thing. When you are sending them to your website, to your thing, they need to know what the fuck it's about. Pardon my French, but I'm fluent in it. There needs to be a thing that's your splash intro, and there's something to where if I had the ability to talk to a brand new person, just like I would on the street, at a Waffle House, at an event, I need to have a thing that encapsulates the entirety of my project, or something, a blurb about it. There has to be something, you know what I mean? So it's not just this nebulous thing. It's this is what all of this is about, or at the very least, some kind of teaser to where maybe you're not explaining, but it's just music and it's different cuts. It's all of these things that you used to see on music video channels, right? Holy shit, there's a preview of this song. Oh, there's a preview of that song. And that might get you really excited to go check out the next thing. I know we have an industrial decision playlist, for fuck's sake. Maybe we need the visual version of that, but you can do that on your own site. So.
Thank you. That's really important. That's okay. Thank you. Brad Makes Noise said, "What is the topic and goal of this show/episode?" I think it's therapy right now. I think today's question is, what alternatives are there to social media, to the entire burning loss of the cyberpunk in Gibsonish dream that was supposed to happen that epically didn't. And we are trying to talk about what alternatives there are. And right now, the youngins on the panel are going to jump in, and we're going to have a talk and possibly brainstorm about what used to happen and maybe inspire people. And by the way, kiddies, I'm not fucking around today. This is about positivity, and this is about inspiring to build something new. And if you're in the chats right now, do me a favor, go out, have a search around the web and find Gothic alternative websites such as darkmusic.net and newgothcity.com, who are setting up these communal-based hub websites that are completely separate from social media, because that's how we used to do it in the olden days. Go out and find them. And we did bring up MySpace. And this is not about fucking bitching. This is about, for the love of fucking God, trying to heal and rebuild. I'm going to leave my mic on. Ivan, I encourage you and Diana to turn your mics on as well. Alex, we're going to get to you in a few minutes. The old farts are going to reminisce. Rezi, kick us off.
So this is interesting. There was plenty of internet before the World Wide Web. Like, that was fine. There was just internet with different things you could do with different protocols. And one of them was Usenet. And we mentioned this a little while ago. And Usenet was a relatively open forum. I don't remember if there was any even moderation. But there were topics and areas on this Usenet, and it was text-based, and it was Unix machines, and you type stuff, and you talk about your niche, and you'd name that niche with a top-level thing that indicated it was recreational, and then a sub-level thing that it was about music, and then maybe the specific thing that it was about industrial. And on rec.music.industrial, there would be a discussion, lively and contentious, about industrial music, believe it or not.
And how Skinny Puppy wasn't hardcore enough.
Right. What samples were in this song? Google preserves the Usenet right now. I don't know if I'd advocate going there, but the Rec Music Industrial still exists on Google Groups. There was also a community called Alt Gothic, and that is, by most definitions, the oldest online community. I think, if I'm getting my facts straight, Google sunset that one and doesn't preserve it. There are probably archives of it, but it was text communities that felt very vibrant and very real and were of people that you knew from the scene and the other scenes in the local communities talking about the scene and the music. And these are music scenes that we're talking about. But it didn't require mediation and algorithmic moderation because it was people of the community. Maybe there was some gatekeeping going on. I don't know how this worked. Maybe there just weren't that many people with computers attached to the internet at the time, and that was part of how it worked. But it was pretty fucking amazing. There were no pictures. There were some binaries on some of the groups, but mostly this was text. If you went to alt.binaries on the Usenet, you could undecode some text mode bin hexed stuff and turn it back into a picture. And eventually there were ways to do that more automatically. But this was people talking. It was people in conversation. It was people being extremely social in the same way you would be at the club, talking about your favorite music and your favorite bands and your favorite pants to wear to the bands and clubs and stuff.
That is fantastic. Thank you very much. Kerry, Aaron, Ivan, do you guys want to jump in with a shared memory of what it was like to be on the internet in the 90s?
Oh, in the 90s? Let's see.
Well, obviously, you know what you understand where I'm
I-
going. Yes, the 90s, but I'm
Yes.
also going, let's talk
Yeah.
and encourage and
Oh, we used to use AOL chat rooms, which I used to call a lot of luck, is what it stood for. You would find like-minded people there. And then there was this one, I can't remember it, but it had the annoying little uh-oh sound whenever somebody would, I forgot the
Was
name
that
of the chat.
ICQ?
I see fucking Q.
That's it. Yeah. It would go, uh-oh. Yeah.
You
We
do
would
that
use-
very well.
Thank you. But we'd have those.
You know, you need to tell people that, I was the voice of ICQ. That was me. You should tell people that. And they go, what? And then you do that. And they go, oh my God, that was you. You should so do that. Actually, you need to do a song
I
where
need to
live.
sample that.
That's the chorus. I'm the chick from ICQ. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Everybody sing along.
It wasn't 3 weeks ago that I heard a podcast about the origins of that sound and that there's 3 or 4
Really?
different versions of it that went into different things. But yeah,
But they were
Oh, that
all
was so
carried.
me.
yeah,
was
that's
me.
what they said. They said it was
Yeah.
Carrie.
It's me.
I had my ICQ number had 4 numbers in it.
Yeah.
And I had people saying that they would buy that off me, and I never understood why. Then I learnt why, that now it got up to 7 numbers. I'm sorry, Kerry, go ahead.
No, that's what I used. And then I would like use what was it? The different search engines like Web Crawler and Mama. And did I just lose you guys?
Razi, did you start screen sharing by accident?
Yeah, it just went blank.
Oh, here we go. We're back. That's all right. It's
Oh,
fine.
okay. Yay. but I would use those different ones. And basically the internet, it was like the Wild West, pretty much like how the dark web is, but a lot less porn than what's on the dark web now. That was the 90s. Yeah.
And the porn was there because the porn took so long to download.
Yeah.
My memories of the internet, when I first got into the internet, I had to go to the library at university, and it was, I think it was a 56K login. And it's interesting that you were talking, that's how I found Skinny Puppy. Well, I knew about Skinny Puppy, but I found Network and everything else through a web ring. Because you didn't just type into a website, or go here. Or you could have typed in the URL if you remembered it, but I didn't know, because there wasn't Google, there wasn't search engines. And obviously the overarching thing I'm talking about right now is it's very interesting how we found information back then. That it wasn't easy, it was hard. You had to find things. And you had to push your way through all of these things. I remember when web design, I was talking about this about a month ago. I remember when web design was beautiful, where people would spend time on their web design. And that's something I fucking hate about WordPress, is that this is what it looks like. And I hate that. I don't want my page to look like that. I want it to look like this crazy fucking artistic blah. But the difficulty you've got these days is that you can't make a beautiful artistic blah because it's going to be seen on a phone. Is it going to be seen that way or that way? Is it going to be seen on a screen, on a Mac, on a PC, on all these different browsers? And it's like that whole beautiful, design of like the internet was an art gallery, thanks to Andy's buttons. What was it? Andy's art. The guy that made all the buttons that like were awful, but they were great. It was just fantastic. And it was interesting that I saw many moons ago, Miley Cyrus did a website, and she did it based on what the 90s looked like. And everyone went, oh, what the fuck is this? And it was like, that's what websites looked like in the 90s. They were either beautiful art or they were fucking awful. With text that was all anti-aliased, like crunchy text. But the thing about it is the way you found stuff was through web rings. The way you found stuff was through the GOGs, like the hubs such as fucking Comic Sans. The hubs like SydneyGothic.com or AustralianGothic.com or all of these places. And what we're doing in this, the point of this conversation we are having today is to ask the question, how can we get inspired to do that again or something? Rezi, Aaron, this is an open conversation.
Just a little bit more exploration on what made those communities vibrant and like why there's nostalgia for them, and if we can still do that. Like even before these internet communities that I'm talking about, there were plenty of non-internet connected things where you did dial into a BBS and they relied on maybe dialing each other up to share the information, and you could have small communities about topics. And it was a bulletin board system dedicated to that you would dial into, and the topics were limited to just chess and just music and just guitar and stuff like that. Small topics like those.
I think that the reason. Oh, keep going. Sorry.
No, please. That was, yeah.
No, I interrupted you, and I hate being interrupted. So keep going.
There's the one experience I had, my earliest experience with those, that seems to be the precedes what we're talking about, is I was on a BBS about some nerdy shit. I don't remember what the topic was, but it was local enough in scope that we had a meetup at a baseball game in the bleachers and met these people in real life. And it was like the whole experience, pre-internet, dial up into a system and, authenticate. But there was accountability because your persona was real because you signed up, but there was pseudonymity with, your screen name and stuff that you could still express yourself, and you were behind a persona that you were making. So these elements, like, there was always there. Like, we've always been doing this with our computers, and there's still something super exciting about that. That if we get driven away from the big algorithmic feeds, there's still this like personal correspondence element fucking pen pals, man.
Mm.
You know?
Thank you, Eliza. You mentioned the Angelspit forums. Damn, they were fucking great. And same with like, I remember a bunch of bands in Sydney all had forums, and everybody would be jumping all over the forums. And Rezi, my thoughts, my opinion on the question that you just asked, if I was to give an opinion as an answer, it would be, this is, yeah, Sevcom. This is about back in the day. And then I want to talk about BowieNet. We are drinking at this water well because we're told there are no other water wells. And we're drinking at this water well because lots of people are drinking at this water well. And we think by there being lots of people drinking at this well, you understand what I'm saying right now, right? By lots of people being there, more people will hear you. But in actual fact, there are more people shouting, so less people can hear you. Something I have learned in the last, and remind me, I want to talk about BowieNet. Something I have learned in the last 5 years maybe is that the way you make fans these days or turn people onto your music is by doing it one at a time. It is one person at a time. It is a single engagement with one person at a time. And Aaron, just jump in. I do want to fling around to BowieNet because my question would be, when all of this stuff was happening, Bowie launched BowieNet, and BowieNet was revolutionary. And my question is, what would a free thinker do today? Because don't talk to me about money. Oh, I don't have the money to do that. I don't want to fucking hear that. You have the thought, you have the clarity to be able to think your way out of this. We need to think our way out of this. What do we do? Aaron, wherever your mind was, I want to hear it. And Alex, please.
I think it kind of goes in tandem with what we were talking about, and I think it's like kind of like the allure of like how the net used to be per se. I don't know if there's just too much polish or too many templates, but all that aside, there are things to where people would go to a source because they were ravenous about a band that they loved, right? And it was, maybe they did an extra thing. Maybe there's an instrumental I haven't heard. Maybe there's the digital equivalent of a B-side that I've just never heard, but it's on their MySpace, or it's on, it's all of these things. And then also, like the Birthday Massacre always came to mind because they had a website that was so creepy and alluring, but it would reward those who seek. If you hover your cursor above a gravestone, there's something that pops out, or there's something that cuts across the night sky, and it's nebulous, but it's really cool. Again, if you actually, again, reward those who seek. If you actually explore the page, if you actually search it out, you can find so much cool shit. But to put the finest point on it, there's no reason why you can't find a way to do that for your audience base, And it could be, if you're good at web development or you're not, maybe it's an extra tab, maybe it's hyperlinks, but I think it'd be great to circle back to the point where those who spend time on your site get rewarded or get pointed to the things that you most poignantly want them to see. And that could be your Discord community that we talked about, or it could be, back to MySpace, but you can control the path in which it goes. But again, with the central point being like, if you reward those who seek, I think that might garner a stronger following, or, to people who engage with you.
I agree overwhelmingly. My issue with that, and I don't mean to rain on your parade, but the problem that I always had is that you'd spend all of this time creating stuff like the entire backstory behind Crunkhouse. I can probably count on two hands the amount of people who actually know the backstory behind Crunkhouse. Because there was all, like in the CD, there were all these hints to where the URL is. There's all of this hidden stuff. No one went there, and or very, very few people went there. Like if you have Crunkhouse, you have to take the dual bottom thing out, the CD case, open it up, and written along the side there is the URL to the Crunkhouse secret site. And I was tracking how many people there, and I think like 5 people went there. And of all the CDs we sold, no one actually went there.
I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah, and although that's really fun, like Marilyn Manson did this thing as well. where he there's some fantastic things going on in the chats, by the way. Um, where he did all of this creepy weird shit that you had to burrow through. Hardly anyone did it, and that's the issue. Is that, you know, as much as I fucking love that shit and I love the depth and I love that, people don't have the interest, the time, the attention to go in there. Like if you made this amazing website, and I was thinking, oh, well, you'd have to do it so that it was uppy downy portrait. I don't know how you would go about doing a mouse over glow thing on a phone, because as soon as you put your finger on it, it's going to fuck everything up. You could do it on your screen. How many people like it's just, maybe this is an incredible exciting opportunity for somebody to say that isn't an app, for somebody to say, okay, well, given this new technology, this is the crazy beautiful statement of art we're going to make. And I guess that sort of really excites me. Alex, your hand's been up for half an hour. Do you want to say something at this stage, or?
I wanted to say something. Yeah, I think the one of the main differences is that you used, well, disclaimer, I first started using the internet in 2002, which isn't technically the 90s, but I think I still can say a bit about it. And I think like it took me 2 years to realize you can't do more than just research stuff for school on the internet. But I think the main difference is that you went somewhere for just one purpose. And I feel like it made a difference. And you could be done with the internet for the day. Like I remember going through all my sites that I usually visit, check all the updates, and then after an hour or so be done with the internet and do
That's a
something.
fascinating thing.
You've reached the end of the
I really
internet.
missed that.
Congratulations.
That, no, I think, Alex, did you want to keep talking, or am I just going to fucking
No,
roll
you
it
can
in?
talk.
Okay, you just said something really important. And therein lies the entire problem. Not only has it become addictive, but everybody's an addict, and we are. There's something we don't talk about enough. That, yeah, that's really important. I remember clearly that you go, oh well, there's nothing really else happening on the internet. I've checked all the sites. I used to do that. I used to have like 5 different sites I check on. Oh my God. Rezi, and hey, by the way, Kerry, when you were playing with your Commodore 64 and 128, what were you listening to on tape?
Oh, on cassette tape? Okay, so that was back in the 80s. That would be Front 242 and Laurie Anderson and Kraftwerk and Depeche Mode. The good 80s stuff.
Good
And
stuff. Good stuff. I thought you were
yeah,
going to say Devo in there, but
no, and Sisters of Mercy, whatever I could find. I would have to
wow.
like drive
So you were very goth.
in a redneck town. Yes,
Yeah.
I would have to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now, you've had pink hair your whole life. What were you saying?
No. Oh, I would have to drive like an hour to go to a music store to get that music.
Mm.
And I had a pen pal that I met through a magazine, an alternative magazine. She was from California, and that's how I learned about like Killing Joke and Dead Kennedys. I mean, I would grab whatever media I could get a hold of, and I'd ask my mom, take me to Tulsa, and we'd drive an hour to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, no, that's fantastic that you had that supportive upbringing.
Oh yeah.
Razi, did you want to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, I was getting these vibes of like what we used to include on our websites, and I mean, it's need to underscore that it's even called the web in the first place, the World Wide Web. Like this is a thing about connecting. It's a thing about integrating sources into one place, whichever metaphor you want to use for the web. I don't know which one Tim Berners-Lee meant by it, but there's both metaphors that work in this case, where we're extending out and also pulling stuff in, and it's a connection medium. And it was at this time, since we're still doing our old people from the 90s and talking about how the web was, it was very much that. And the metaphors about it being the web and spiders and, interconnected things were still, people made the visual metaphors and graphics talking about how it was a web. And having those connections still felt vital. It still felt like you were contributing and receiving from these connections. And that's another big part of what's lost by an algorithmic feed, certainly, is a thing that's pushed, you know, streaming and sent out to you. It's a very different experience.
This is fantastic because it's really I believe that where the internet has become an addiction issue, partly. I believe that the changes in design and everything else has come down to the amount of although my God, do you guys remember the books you could get on internet design? Do you remember oh man, what was it called? Cool Internet Design or something like
the Zeldman one, designing for web standards, I think.
Yeah, no. There were books about some of the websites that and they were made like in the they were like tabletop coffee shop. Ivan, could you do me a favor and try and hunt one down for me and stick it in the chat? Like stop looking at the new Kurzweil 2061 for fuck's sake, and can you just for a minute not stop looking at that incredible Kurzweil K2061 that claims to have the same vast architecture as the original K2000, but I don't think it did. What you just heard was Carl's whispering to his synthesizer voice, "Come on, baby, give me the most devastating bass line you have." So you're looking for the web book, Ivan, not the fucking Kurzweil. Great Kurzweil, by the way. Anyway, and they used to have these coffee shop books about what you could do on the internet. Is that it? Is that it? Is that it? Alex, what do you got for me? What do you got for me? What do you got
Yeah,
for
many
me?
books. I don't know which one you mean.
No, these are web designs for dummies. Like I'm talking, this was the creme de la fucking creme of the best goddamn fucking web design you could possibly get your hands on. Like these were the big web designers in New York and in no, I don't want a fucking Bible for the fucking how to make a fucking website. Jesus Christ. Okay, somebody else go on a spiel.
How to build accessibility into your HTML? No,
Holy Jesus
not what we're
Christ,
talking about?
Fuck, no. Can somebody talk about the good old days for a minute?
I fell in love with web sheets or spreadsheets in the 90s.
Wrong answer.
Oh,
No, there's people that did a lot of great creative art using spreadsheets and coloring the cells in and then zooming out and making it look like something pretty. So this is still right on topic, even if
No!
You know how everybody
you,
makes
Raz.
analogies to Pink Floyd syncing up with Wizard of Oz? Well, mine in the day was the fact that the Fat of the Land soundtrack and/or Chumbawamba, the Tub Thumper album, married perfectly with Mario Kart 64. So,
that's
if
awesome.
that might bring you joy, then go get a Nintendo 64 and.
Out of the land with that. Oh,
So we're gonna
But no,
bring
but
it
we're
back
talking
to
about back in the
topic
day,
now.
right?
Bring
So,
it
I
back
mean-
to topic. Bringing
Yeah,
it back to topic.
You're talking about.
I want you to talk about. Thank you, Rosie.
I mean, the like 90s web design was very joined at the hip with like the Memphis school. So like everything was kind of weird.
Dude, you know your shit. You mentioned Memphis. No, I'm impressed. I fucking love Memphis. Go on.
Yes,
We're talking Memphis Milano,
and, like,
right?
Yeah. No, I mean, like you had the like 80s Memphis design, and then like that still wasn't dead in the 90s, and then the World Wide Web came along, and suddenly like that got applied heavily for a while to like the graphic and UI components of web design. And actually, to tell the truth, everything computer design. And then, in the late 90s, that started to die, and like 91, it just dead.
There are a lot of cool design books coming out at that time, and it's funny that we're talking about books, like paper books. You go to the store and buy them, but that was still the way of doing it.
It was.
I don't. My experience of designing stuff that time was like literally the technical side, so I've got nothing to add that's not going to make Carl unmute and yell at me. But does anybody else want to jump in with something that's like more specific to expressing your band's personality? Meanwhile, I'm going to reminisce a little bit on the other thing. Carl was talking about doing like deep links directly to a hidden page within your site from printed material, and the concept of having a hit counter publicly visible on those pages, or at least being aware of the logs to look at what traffic was hitting them.
Yeah.
And that was the thing we did. We knew when there was 5 people or 5,000 people that looked at a page within your website. And I did
Because
the
we had
same
a ticket
thing.
counter.
Yeah. Little graph or just a number in like single pixel font. I did one of the booklets that we released had a hidden page URL printed in it for each of the song lyrics things, and some of them might have gotten 0 ever. I'm not even sure at this point. It was a long time ago, but that was a thing we did to try to bring people in. Carrie, what's on your mind?
With the reminiscing, I do
Of course.
remember, yeah, in the 90s, like if I'd go to, I was big into Tool, and I just to wait for their page because they had really a great website, and to hover over something and click on it, then I'd go vacuum. And then about 15 minutes later, there's the page that I clicked on. And it took forever. There was no instant, put it in the microwave and it's done. No, that was another painful thing with the 90s internet.
Alex, what were you doing in 1994 with the web?
1994, probably being 2 years old, but
that's what we're talking about. We were all between 0, -5, 2.
yeah. I think there's a website where you can search specifically for like single personal websites. It's a search engine. I would look it up, but it's on my phone, which is right now my webcam. So maybe I have to put that in the Discord later.
Yeah. So who else has stuff that they're thinking about and wants to say publicly on record? I lost the thread already, so Carrie, what's on your mind?
I didn't mean to have my hand still raised. I'm sorry.
Well, it's up now. You
Aaron.
have to say something. I had to.
Let's see here.
I'm totally kidding. If you don't have anything, Aaron's got his hand up too.
I once ran up my grandparents' phone bill from being on the internet because I was bored at their house visiting.
Modem dial up to a long
Yes.
distance.
Oh yeah, that was a
ISP.
few
Good job.
$100s. Yep.
Aaron, what's on your recollection of 1994, the web?
If I were to try to bring something back, I would think about the fact that how many times you tune in to like MTV because you're like, maybe they're gonna play my fucking Stone Temple Pilots music video, or they're gonna play freaking whatever, insert band of the time, and there might be 3 or 4 that you despise, but when your jam came on, that was it. And I'm actually very tempted to try to be able to build that into a website somehow, to where if people are hanging in long enough, boom, maybe not Interstate Love Song comes on, but but that's just that feeling. It's that buzz of just being like, oh shit, like it's coming up. It's going to be a thing. Like, I'm really excited. This is my favorite band. Or maybe they're going to, back when music videos and they actually gave a shit, like 9 Inch Nails, Perfect Drug, like Wire to Wire. It's such a phenomenal music video, like, thematically. So I get a lot of inspiration actually thinking back on that, or Smashing Pumpkins Tonight, because they wanted to do a hat tip to Millier. And then that might lead you down a good rabbit hole to where you go, George Millier, what did he do? How did he do all of those things when it came to production and film and things that you could adopt to your album concepts, your artwork, your music videos that you could play on MTV TV, and all of the things. But again, it's that joy of seeing what your favorite music videos are, getting inspired by them, and then trying to deconstruct. And we're you know, and it's funny thinking about back then to now. There's a lot of things now to where you can get into the mechanics of it. You can disassemble it. You know, you can literally be like, well, how did they do X, Y, and Z with overlays and green screens and editing, and you know, or at least you could have that strength of concept, even if you're not a proficient editor. You could say, this is what I want. These are all the things. And you could try Stratocast that to people or bounce it off people, and they could kind of help you engage or, you know, encourage you to be able to do it.
Thank you so much. I found it. I found one of them. I want you to look at this, by the way. Oh God, I hate the fucking. If you can you please download that? This is really beautiful design. It's fucking beautiful. And for God's sake, make sure there's no viruses in it. This is one of them. I recall there were quite a few of these absolutely stellar. That's a website. That's what websites used to look like. That's what they used to aspire to look like. For those who don't know, I'm a massive fan of David Carson. David Carson, who did Ray Gun and a lot of the absolutely beautiful, beautiful shit. I've got a few of his books. He did Bowie stuff. He did the Nine Inch Nails covers. That absolutely free. He did it. Ray Gun he was a failed art student, and he wanted to skateboard, so he made a skateboard magazine called Ray Gun, where he had a broken photocopy and all this other shit. He just started making the maddest fucking shit. Like, you need to research the magazine called Ray Gun. Then that became this huge thing. Then it became, he started doing artwork for Nine Inch Nails and Bowie and Bjork and blah, 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 the Pixies. And then Coca-Cola said, we want you to do an ad campaign, but it's got to be edgy. And he goes, okay. So he gets a Coke can, he stood on it, he took a photo of it, and he wrote under it, coked. And they went maybe too edgy. But when you look at his typography, the guy was a master typographer. That's gone. Like that whole that absolutely beautiful statement of art, yeah. So yeah, that's look into that. I want you to absorb that. I think that's my takeaway from today, is if I was to offer anything at all, it would be that. Like when Angelspit first started, this is the sort of thing that inspired it. And I'm really glad that you said, you know, Milano, Memphis, and all that shit. Beautiful art movements that we've forgotten about because they take longer than 30 seconds to digest. I actually had these 3 pens when I was a kid. My mum and dad gave me, because I was such a weirdo, these 3 pens that were in the style of Memphis Milano, and it was in the 80s. So it was that really bold, crazy bold colors shit. And I ended up losing them, but they were these beautiful, beautiful, arty fucking pens. God, I wish I still had them. So if anybody else has anything positive that they want to add to this positivity, please bring positivity. Rezi, I see your hand.
I wanted to go compare Ushriek and Angelspit websites in 2001 on the Wayback Machine, but I haven't finished loading them yet. But unfortunately, mine doesn't harken back to David Carson broken typography. It's a generation after that. But I would underscore the beauty and danger and inscrutability of some of the stuff that that Ray Gun inspired at that time. I mean, this was like intentionally hard to read, so it wasn't necessarily functional, but it was evocative and felt important.
Okay, that was a really interesting thing. By the way, if somebody can go onto that fucking website and tell me how the hell do I download the fucking thing, because I don't know how to. I want to download this thing. Oh, I have to log in to borrow it. Okay, we'll do that. This is a really interesting thing because I went to a type, and Amelia used to redesign the websites every release. So it was a completely different fucking website. God damn it. She could fucking design. The thing, I went to this typography thing in Sydney because Sydney was all about that shit in the late 90s, early 2000s. And they were saying how it doesn't matter what the text says, how does it make you feel? And that was the thing that, Carson always went on about. Is like, what do you feel? What is it making you feel? And isn't that just art itself? Isn't that music? It doesn't matter that so here's something funny. It doesn't matter what rules I'm breaking. How does it make you feel? I'm pulling apart an Ice Planet 9000 song at the moment because I'm taking it live. And I had to go into the original thing and figure out what the fuck was going on and blah, 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 blah. And I found, and it's the really interesting thing is I've never figured out what this is, this arpeggiator. There's these two arpeggiators going on and they feel amazing. And I'm trying to figure out why the musicality is saying this, but the arpeggiators are doing this amazing fucking thing to your head. Why? What's going on there? And and I went back in and I found that I'm pretty sure accidentally the chord was an E because everything's E because it's the blaster beam. It's gravitating between an E and a C, E major, C major, and you go E major, C major. Well, that's a problem with the B, C, and also the G sharp. So there's this beautiful tonal cluster thing going on that you can play over both of them, and it's this absolutely lovely, dreamy fucking thing. So, and I went back in, trying to figure out when it hits the E, it does this thing. And it wasn't playing an E, it was playing an F. And I think what happened is it was a mistake because I'm not smart enough to do that shit. And the whole arpeggiator just does this thing. Then it goes back to the E, do an E, but then it moves into the F. And it was like, wow, that's so fucking beautiful. I'm so looking in to I want this book. I swear to God, I'm going to get this fucking book. So I think today's takeaway, I've been in a really awful mood, and I thank you guys for getting me out of that awful mood and also letting me yell at you. Having Carl yell at you is a nice thing. No, it's not. It's terrible. We've got some real positivities here. If anybody else wants to jump in at this stage, if anybody wants to build on some of the gothic or ambient or emo or punk or whatever web hubs that we've talked about, please let me know. Liz, didn't you make a Carl sending a shit emoji? I think you did that. Thank you very much. That's lovely. I should adopt that. 23 envelopes. Why is that ringing a bell?
Von Oliver.
That's
4AD
ringing-
album covers, Cocteau Twin stuff, then it all sort of comes to mind through that. But and maybe some of David R. Gilmour's stuff too, from the early Skinny Puppy designs. There was some.
Oh
real
yeah,
iconic stuff.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
But Von Oliver was a huge inspiration at the same time, sort of, that Carson's stuff was going on.
Yeah.
Very different.
And also, it's about the time that's taken in creating art, and a lot of that shit was done not on a computer. It was done with paper and cutting shit up with scalpels and gluing shit together. Because you are going to create, and this absolutely tends back to music, you are going to be creating things that you wouldn't think of normally doing if you were staring at Photoshop. I saw a hand.
That was me. You were saying the real world media and the Von Oliver lecture where he described throwing like a supermarket bought squid on the scanner to get an effect. I mean, that speaks exactly to that. And it was a little bit freeing to hear him talk about his work that way.
Yeah. That's another thing as well, is that like I bought a scanner, and scanners are really cheap these days. I bought a scanner so that I could experiment and build, and like I'm always going back to David Carson. Like, when you free your mind up, what amazing, beautiful things can you create? You know, when you free your mind up, when you open your mind to the ocean of thought, as David Lynch would have said, the ocean of possible creativity, musically and all disciplines, what is there? And that's what we have to use our creative minds for now, is that we have reached a communications issue. And we need to force through that to figure out a solution. And again, I will say, with these places, so New Goth City is still going. Yeah? With websites such as these, support them, send them money. Like, hey, and same with Regen. You know, if they're going to do a review, send them a few bucks. You're not paying for a review. You're saying, hey man, it's like a tip. Oh my God. Everybody doesn't think twice about tipping your waiter. We should fucking tip MTV TV. Join their Patreon, perhaps. You're welcome, Diana. Aaron, what do you got?
If there's something I'd recommend that's helped me over the past few years, if it comes to reminders for checking out these sites that we're talking about, or just simple reminders for you to do the thing, you know, regardless of whatever your tasking is, I would highly recommend to set alarms on your phone. Because time and time again, it's proven to be just, it's a good thing. And not, oh, I constantly got to check my phone so I could death scroll. No, it's literal, deliberate alarms. Some of them I set days apart. But when my alarm goes off at like 7:30 at night, I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Oh, yeah, that. It's literally telling me you need to promote this or do that. And yeah, again, some of them, like Carl said, you know, to bring it back to a point, it could be, I need to go check that site out. And by extension, you could support them. You can repost, you can do whatever. You can do whatever you want in your little ticker tape. But the point is, you label an alarm, you make it intentional, you know, for the things that you need to investigate or research, or things that you need to promote, being your project or others. I've found that to be incredibly helpful. Instead of keeping it as this storm cloud that constantly hovers your head, you got to do the thing. You got to do the thing. Well, if you get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things in that storm cloud, it feels like really overwhelming, and you're like, well, what the fuck, you know? Or you're bound to forget things. So again, I would just be very intentional and just recommend, you know, set some alarms and label your alarms as such, and kind of stagger them out. And that kind of helps, you know, it helps you decompress, and it also helps you be more intentional about the things that you need to check out and or knock out. So.
Thank you. Raziel, what do you think?
I'm intensely curious, Aaron, what the alternative to having stuff on your schedule is. Literally a roiling cloud of events that may or may not be mandatory.
I don't know. It feels like you get to a point, like, I think your brain has a switch. Your brain has a oh fuck switch when you forgot to do something. That's certainly true. You know, an hour after something or a day after something, you're like, you'd have done it. Or
My
that
question,
event
I think, is
you know?
how did you come upon that there's a lesson here? Because I'm agreeing 100%, yes, of keeping track of your events. But it sounds like you have an experience of before you set alarms and now that you do set alarms. Was there a life just before this that you had an enlightened moment?
I for the longest time had a habit of writing things on it was either sticky notes or like a Trident gum packet, for fuck's sake. I'd rip it open, fold it up, you know, and instead of a moleskin or something tried and true or a handy dandy notebook that you always had, I would put it on that, and I'd put it in a pocket. And it was so weird because it's like, it was unintentionally helpful, because you'd go to clear your pockets out to do your laundry and you go, right. Shit.
No, but
Those
now
are
I understand the
lyrics for-
distinction you're making. That is you know, I had some really bad habits in that same way. I remember one of those big wall-sized pieces of paper that's like easel-sized, and I used to take notes on that, just sort of brainstorming, and there was no system by which they made it to the calendar with a date and a reminder, and that's not inspirational. It's it's a burden and a weight, and like you said, the storm of all these things that you have to do. But moving that to a structured system where if you write it on your phone or your thing, it comes up everywhere as that's the time that happens. That's the time you're going to do the promotional thing. It's very freeing.
Well, it's been helpful in that I don't feel like I pour hours into just like running on the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
sit there,
Yeah. That's a great way of saying it.
I don't go a million directions at once, like to basically, I don't know, to make it more concrete. When that alarm goes off on my phone, I'm like, it's time to do the thing, and I could laser focus on it. I could tab the pictures that I want. I can grab the things off of my notepad, or I could find the thing, and I make it intentional to where I say, this has to go on Google Drive right
to
now.
double down on that technique, I would add populate that reminder if it's in reminders, that appointment if it's in your calendar, that note with an alert if it's in your notes. Populate that with links to all the shit that you're going to need for that thing to happen too while you're thinking of it. The
100%.
hamster wheel that you're talking about of like,
Yeah.
now it's in the notebook. Okay, I'll remember when it comes out of my pocket to put it in the calendar. And now I'll remember to set an alarm. Do it once, like
Yeah.
as you're having
Well,
the
that way,
idea,
too,
tell your
it
voice
goes.
assistant that the idea is this, and here is the time, and here is how early to remind me, and here are the links. Yeah, this was revolutionary for me personally, and I'm glad.
Yeah,
for
like
you
I
too.
said, I know I found it to be incredibly helpful. And some people might be like, I don't really operate like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I would just encourage you to try it,
Yeah.
just every now and again, because, and I won't say that it's not annoying, because again, my default response to my phone going off is what the fuck and why. And then all of a sudden it's Dropbox, Drive, hard drive, do the thing, just knock it the fuck out. And in my experience, it's usually not more than like, whatever, 10, 15 minutes. Just it's doing that because it's a war of attrition. It's not, oh, the phone alarm went off, so I have to do an entire installment of a thing, or I have to like edit an entire video. That's not necessarily the case. It's to Rezi's point. There's hyperlinks in your notepad. There are things that you've tabbed. There are things that you've favorited. But as soon as that phone alarm goes off, it's like it's not really too different than somebody just walking in and leaning on your doorway and being like, "Hey, man, so like, what are you up to in your music project?" Oh, fuck, yeah, I need to do that. I need to make a post.
There's
it's
a little
the phone
theory.
equivalent of your best friend in the doorway.
There's a little theory of seamless capture and also just one inbox for absolutely everything, and then you process that, and it's a little bit Dave Allen, GTD. We haven't really talked about that a lot lately. It's probably not the most inspiring thing, but it does free you up to get back to creativity when you can trust that all your ideas are not in 15 different pockets and 15 different pants, and not maybe written on in big marker on a piece of wrapping paper and in your pants, but if you're Anuket says writing stuff on marker on a big piece of paper. If that's your one place that you can trust that your ideas are going, and you don't also have it in a couple of other places, it frees you up to just go back there and process your ideas. I like rededicating to that every once in a while, and then not sweating where stuff is stashed. And when you notice things are getting balled up in your pockets and you're only checking them when you have to do laundry rather than at the time of day when you check what your tasks are every day, because everybody does that, right? Then you're freed up to not, search around and feel like you forgot things. And that's Aaron, that's exactly what you're talking about. So slightly different techniques for different people, but it's freeing. I love it. Carl, can you get off reverb now?
I'm just reading some of the comments. Thank you very much. I was reading some comments and
Yeah, there's
kind
good
of,
chat going on.
checking some of the things, like you're checking the websites and stuff that other people are talking about. Okay, great. Was there anything anybody else wanted to talk about today?
Yeah, Alex, I think. Oh, sorry. I think you mentioned like building your own social media thing in the chat way long ago, and there is something to that. I know it's prohibitive to just like, okay, we'll get some free open source tools and start spooling up, our Unix server someplace, and maybe it's prohibitive, but the spirit of doing that, there's been there's been very powerful DIY community maintenance full solutions that crop up every once in a while. And instead of spending money on marketing, maybe you spend some of your budget on these things. Topspin comes to mind as one of the older ones that was like direct to fan community-based thing where you had all the same tools of embedding and tracking and selling. And anyway, I think there's all of the stuff that we've been talking about, some power in reaggregating those things and reconnecting those things. And maybe you found some actual tools that are paths to doing that, Alex? Or is it still much more
No, I
figurative?
just was curious how hard it actually is, and so I was researching like how do people actually do it? What kind of programming language do I need to learn?
It's Perl.
Maybe libraries I can use to make it faster. How would I do it so it would be scalable if it ever get successful? Stuff like that. I haven't come very far. I think I'm like half through a HTML tutorial, but that was like my way of thinking.
Yeah. Scripting from scratch, like writing your own stuff. I mean, well, this is going to get off topic if I start going into that. But I mean, you can obviously ask one of the chatbots to write it for you. You don't need to know the code, and you can collaborate with something that does know the code. And if you've got a solid idea of how to do that, you can ask for a Perl script to do it, or whatever language you want to use, and it'll generate it. And you may, with a few weeks of iteration with a chatbot, be able to come up with a good program that does this shit that you want. I don't know what the value is there of rolling your own, because there are tools, but it's a creative expression. You know, like if you're trying to smash the state and write your own bespoke, owned, personal version of, you know, the dominant social media paradigm, fuck yeah, that's nerdy and punk as fuck. I'm there for that. Alex, was there more?
Yeah, the idea that I had was just to specifically make it for like niche communities and subcultures, so you can maybe tune into your city and then specifically music happenings, or maybe Ableton Live in general, stuff like that, and that this would be your feed and not like the algorithm would be more based on your interests and not based on maximizing engagement. And that you can fine tune what you want to what to get and what not. And yeah, and I was also thinking how expensive it would be if you were just using low-res images and text. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, the resources are so cheap. It's like, you know, hundreds of pennies for AWS stuff and whatever your thing is. But can I just ask you to go back to the distinction you made a second ago? Shoot, I've just lost it because I got it talking about what servers to use. But you said something about the engagement versus what the purposes were, where the massive media sites are focused on engagement and you are focused on the creative act, I think. Was that the distinction?
So basically it's more like a subscription and less like algorithmically pushed upon you. So there was this one app that sort of went nowhere, at least for me, but I quite liked it because it was like called something like neighbor in German, the word Nachbar. And I found like a small synth group and we met up maybe 4 times or so, and it was like really nice. Unfortunately, it went nowhere after that. But I really like this hyper local thing that I could just say, I'm interested in synthesizers and I'm in this town. So it would recommend me this group.
You've mentioned it about maybe 4 times, 5 times in just this meeting alone, like this idea of interest areas rather than algorithmic engagement mongering, which it feels better. It's way more valuable to us. It's not in the interest of the person running the site necessarily so much as making the people happy that are using the site. And that's the kind of focus that I think we're talking about here is making the people using it enriched and happy and uplifted and productive and connected, rather than inspiring them to contribute eyeballs and metrics and material for the company to use. Totally different way of approaching things that I think is Yeah, that really sort of like encompasses a lot of what we've been talking about for the time being. Aaron, is that square with what you've been thinking?
No, 100%. And I think there's a wealth of things that we talked about today that would be just all, it'd be a breath of fresh air to seek it out, because I think people they get stuck. It's literal like gatekeeping. Like they feel like that's a spiked top gate, or that's got barbed wire. I can't get over it. X platform, Y platform, whatever platform literally says, well, you got to have this many followers if you're going to go live or do a thing. You know, they're pretty much just telling you, you know, you can't get in. It's the bouncer hand on the chest. Just keep fucking stepping. But there's plenty of other sites, like we talked about today, that are social media adjacent to where you're just like, no, I'm gonna go over here, you know, because I can literally do like my own thing, i.e., like you guys said, building your own or doing your own site, doing Discord, doing, you know, just seeking things out. There's a lot to seek out. And that's why I'm always writing things down, or, you know, we got all this stuff in the chat, which is freaking awesome. But yeah, I would encourage, instead of just booting back up the phone, which people are privy to, it's hard to break habits. But instead of the doom scroll thing, it's kind of, well, what can I do to Stratocast everything and use that? And I always think about the last aspect. I mean, a lot of people are camera shy, but that doesn't mean you always have to be directly in front of a camera to build your fellowship, to do the communal things, you know, build your community and get things rolling on other sites. But don't let those small little blockages stop you, or those hindrances from, quote, not having enough followers to do something. Well, fuck all that. You know, any site that's telling you that is clearly one that you don't want to pour a lot of energy into. You know, it's probably time to start building up all these other things to start doing that to, you know, yeah, I'm rambling, but don't mentally gatekeep yourself. That's probably the finest point on it.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Brilliant advice as usual. So I was just looking at New Goth City, and it's alive and buzzing. If I was to give some thoughts, possibly at you, Alex, for somebody who goes, well, I want to start my own social media thing or my own thing, my advice is don't, because it is thankless. It is going to take all of your time when you're supposed to be making music. And find someone who's already built it and give them an hour a week. Like, say to them, I want to donate to you. I want to donate some time to you. What can I do to help you? Can I source gigs in my community? Can I get a back-end login so I can go through that and start adding gigs to the gig guide? What can I do? Because there's a lot of wheels out there that do not need to be reinvented. Like, and you said gatekeeping, and that's a topic that, my God, I'd like to talk about that, but it's probably best that I don't. Unfortunately, that does exist. And unfortunately, it is stopping a lot of art, and it's getting worse from getting out to the populace. And a lot of gigs and a lot of XYZ, because fucking whatever. So yeah, find something that's already doing it, contribute to them. And after a while, you know, you might go, well, you know, I think if these people aren't going to take your advice, and if you've seen the workload in it, maybe you will want to set up something else. But remember, you are going to be operating in opposition to them. In competition is perhaps a better word. Yeah, competition's a great thing, but community and working together to create and focus on one thing is even better, I think. So yeah, and on that, I will say, I've been going through Goth City, New Goth City. Fucking great website, man. Great website. I'm just going to put this in here in the chat again. That's in the US. There's a whole bunch of shit. And by the way, I hunted down that book I was talking about, and I bought it. Because fuck it. Alex, I see your hand.
Yeah, maybe another meta comment. I think what's also sort of missing is people who point at other cool stuff. I feel like those have been have become
Oh, yeah.
less frequent. Like people just have like having sites that have links to other sites where cool stuff happens, or maybe bands you haven't checked out. I follow this one DJ who sort of does that, but it's really rare, I think. It's, of course,
Yeah.
gatekeeping in itself, but I don't know.
You're absolutely correct. The currency of music and the internet, I think the currency used to be cool. COOL, cool. But now the currency is currency. And that's the whole thing about influencers and the whole how this addictive thing has changed, because that's what addiction does, is it fucks everything up, is it's become absolutely financially based. Sorry, did I just give you a rant then? I'm such a bastard. So I saw you rolled your eyeballs. I saw that. Did anybody else want to jump in, or can I? And I'm going to sign off. And as we go, I'm going to throw a question at Ivan. Does anybody else want to jump in? Okay, today's been really awesome. I'm going to be updating the. I'm going to be updating when I update this. I'm going to add a lot of the websites and everything else. This has been really positive. I hope you take something positive. My final thing is maybe you need to log into MySpace and recreate a MySpace just to establish the real estate.
Man, I tried when you mentioned it. My placeholder page was there and everything.
Was it?
I might have to recover a password. I'm sure it's been obliterated, but yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm with
Well,
you.
Angelspit was on there like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe less. But because you never know. That's the thing about social media. It's like there's all these lily ponds. The lily pond you're on is a pile of shit and it's on fire, and it's always on fire. Shouldn't say that too loudly in California. And it's like, which lily pond do I jump to? I don't know. That's all I have to say on this. Ivan, I have a question. What excited you most from NARM?
Actually, kind of nothing.
Okay.
Well, last week it was Korg made like a refrigerator or a tea cozy or something. So I can see where that would be uninspiring.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the Korg was kind of uninspiring, and Roland is hyper uninspiring. There've been some new, like audio interfaces that look kind of nice, but they don't look nice enough for me to want to jump from my currently very nice setup.
Can I just, I'm sorry to cut you off because I'm a bastard. Isn't it interesting how uninspiring is the word here? The internet is uninspiring. So much of the music that I hear is uninspiring. The design is uninspiring. Design templates, no one can disagree with this, are uninspiring. Like if you like Cornflower Blue and corporate fucking setup, it's uninspiring. Isn't it fascinating how, and they're uninspiring because they listen to a whole bunch of people. They're trying to make a whole bunch of people happy based on what a whole bunch of people said they wanted in hindsight on gear that was released several years. And people are going, oh, why are AIs taking over? It's like, this is so ironic that the snake is eating itself. This is funny as fuck to me. I don't want to talk about AIs, but this is a reminder that, you know what, maybe that book I put in there, it was great. I was reading some of the reviews and it was saying, this is the most pretentious bunch of shit I've ever read. And you know what? It is. I just need to say, you need to be, this is the takeaway for today. Become pretentious. Become a pretentious prick. If you want to fix all this shit in a heartbeat, become a pretentious wanker. Look at this arty-farty, wanky art shit and go, what is in there that I can pull, be inspired to get out of the corporatized bullshit that you have been fed on everything. It's in your food. It's in every single thing that absorbs. It's coming into your fucking being. Fuck. I mean, no one can do anything, because we're too busy. I don't want to do this because I don't. Oh, what is fucking wrong with you? Be a pretentious twat. fucking do it. The whole concept of pretentious, doesn't it mean it's the desire to crawl out of your class system and to reach into a class or an understanding that is above you? Isn't that what the word means or something? Become pretentious. Fuck them. Fuck them. And say that in such a way that's not cool. Say it in a way that's pretentious and fucking offensive, and make sure the person you offend first and foremost is yourself. There, class fucking dismissed. Man, when I saw that new Kurzweil, I just went, nah.
Nah.
I heard the sound and I went, that's not what a fucking K2000 sounds like. That is not the offensive, terrifying sound that defined that machine. It's been fixed and smoothed and fixed and polished and varnished and blah, 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 blah. And now all they're selling you is fucking varnish. It's the same with everything. I really could be fucked. Thanks for joining Art of Rock. It's so much fun for all of us to come together and be therapy, and for me to get angry at everything. Because if, you know, and I was thinking this every week we're there. I was thinking how important anger is. You know, somebody said to me, my boss yesterday in a Zoom meeting said, how are you? And I said, oh, I'm fucked and my world's on fire. It's a pile of dog shit. And they went, oh. And I said, well, you asked, and you always call me friend. So I'm telling you as my friend. And then we had this conversation. We had this fucking awesome conversation where we got to know each other a bit better. You know, when somebody says to you they're angry, don't say, oh, well, you should be grateful. Oh, well, at least you've got Frank. At least, no, don't talk about gratitude. I want you to get the concept of gratitude. I want you to shove it up your fucking ass. You need to be fucking angry, because without anger, you cannot get through grief. And everybody is holding on to grief, and you can't get through that because the world is telling you to be grateful. Oh, you have to be grateful. Oh, be grateful. Don't be fucking grateful. It is a pile of shit. That's what it fucking is. Don't be grateful that you have a pile of shit, or that maybe you could put some seeds in it and it will break down and decompose and to create trees. Fuck off. It's shit. When you are non-grateful and you realize that on your plate is shit, maybe you will clear the plate or throw the fucking plate away and go find some goddamn food. Just an FYI, you're a goddamn punk. Act like one. So next week on Art of Rock, we will be continuing this. Here, I'm not even going to put fucking Angelspit's fucking Patreon in there. We've got a gig on. Come to the fucking gig. It's at the LGBT Center. You know, if you have a problem with trans people, fuck off. Please, fuck off. Thank you very much. The Industrial Incisions playlist is full of a whole bunch of angry motherfuckers. There, go listen to it. Watch fucking Alex on Wednesday nights, because it's bloody awesome if you want help with making your fucking music, because we have to fucking do this. MTV TV, for the love of fuck. Send your fucking CD to your video to MTV TV. Just fucking do it. Just fucking do it. Because they are keeping us going. We have to keep them going. If you have a video, there's their email, send it. And if you're looking for new music, you're going to find it. There it is. They've got a Patreon. Back that fucking Patreon. It's fucking awesome. Rezi, you're a fucking prince. Thank you so much for co-hosting and putting up with my fucking temper tantrums.
Your temper tantrums are wonderful, my friend.
Aren't they fucking great? We're going to raid onto MTV TV now. And a reminder, we're there every time. And thanks for joining Art of Rock. We're going to stay back here and chat. Diana, get ready to raid. And remember, if you have a problem with trans people, go fuck yourself. Really, go fuck yourself. You know, and if you have a problem with any people at all, please fuck off. We're going to raid now. And we're going over to MTV TV because it's bloody awesome. Diana, let's get that raid going and let me know when it's raided. In the meanwhile, we're going to stand back here and fucking bitch about shit. How's that raid going, Diana? And remember, keep an eye on New Goth City and Dark dark music. These are hubs where our community exists, and we're going to make sure that these things keep existing. And if you put something on there, throw them some money just to keep them going. It's a very effective way of saying thank you. Oh, yes. Yes, it is. There. Booyah. Fan-fucking-tastic. We are going to MTV TV. It is fantastic. Rock and roll.